guys, it's Tim, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Friday, the 24th of March, 2023, and this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up, a handful of news brought to you in one easy-to-watch video. Now, there's not, as far as today's show does go, a bunch of huge, big news stories. There's a lot of news notes and tidbits, and there's a lot of different news things to talk about. So we're going to have a lot of quick hit news, but for sure we're going to talk about CM Punk's comments from yesterday on Instagram. We're going to talk about maybe something in correlation with that kind of the AEW handbook, as far as the employee handbook does go. We're going to talk about the two top champions in Impact Wrestling being hurt, multiple people in WWE currently hurt, what's going on with Sasha Banks, or should I say Mercedes Mone, and why do people think she can go back to WWE? Is Naomi ever going back to WWE? What's she doing? And so much more, because again, this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up. Every Monday and Friday morning, roughly between 11 and 11:30 a.m. Pacific, we bring you all the latest pro wrestling news, but right tight, wrapped up in one easy-to-watch podcast, video, whatever you want to call it. So that way you don't have to scour the internet for a bunch of different ads or a bunch of different posts and videos and whatnot. Bring it all right here in one quick, easy-to-watch video. Well, sometimes not quick, sometimes like 30, 40 minutes, but regardless, you know what I mean. And then we spread it out also. If you don't want to watch it all, we clip it out and we bring you guys just the tidbits you want to know. Remember, you can watch this show a couple of different ways, whether that's live on Twitch and YouTube, or that's later on YouTube, or listening on podcast services all around the globe. Because remember, some people don't like the video version. They don't like my mug. They don't like to see me. They just want to hear me. And so you can do that on multiple different platforms like Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and so much more. But if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below, or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and it always gives you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Because remember, all you got to do is take that Amazon account, your Amazon Prime, you take that Twitch account, you link them together, bada bing, bada boom, your Prime Gaming, and it doesn't even have to be your Amazon Prime account. It can be anybody's Amazon Prime account, whether that's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa, your auntie, your uncle, anybody, your dog walker, the guy that brings your mailman or mail woman, your best friend's dad who's a cop, your uncle's brother, your uncle's wife's brother who's a firefighter. It can be anybody's Amazon Prime account. But also remember, on YouTube, you can support us over there by becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access news, early access podcast episodes, early access non-news videos, and so much more. Plus, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming a free game or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, Fall Guys, or Rumbleverse. No. As I'm saying it, I know I'm wrong. Rumbleverse has died. It's Fortnite, Fall Guys, or Rocket League. Use the code PWU Unlimited at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. Again, use that code PWU Unlimited, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, and you're supporting us. Whether you're getting into that new season of Fortnite, that mega season, whether you're playing The Last of Us Part 1 for the first time next week because it comes out on PC on the 28th, or you're getting the brand new Lego 2K Drive, use this code right here, PW Unlimited. Heck, Chess Ultra, free right now. World of Warships, free right now. Doesn't cost you anything at all. Put the code in when you're claiming it. Are you claiming them free games? Well, then put the goddamn code in to claim the free games. But with that, we got news to talk about in our news stories. First news story to talk about has to do with CM Punk calling out Tony Khan, John Moxley, Dave Meltzer, and as he stated, the Stooge, Chris Jericho. So let's pop this up on the screen in case you've been living under a rock and haven't seen it yet. Jericho posted on Instagram yesterday, and well, he's then quickly deleted at the same time, but he posted this on Instagram yesterday stating the following. Sigh. I wasn't cleared to come back to wrestle yet. Then plan was to wrestle at the pay-per-view. I sat and listened to Moxley's Rocky 3 idea. I explained how I'd never seen a Rocky movie, which back in 2010, he sent out a tweet stating, I've never seen a Rocky movie, so never seen a Rocky movie. Anyways, he said, and thought the idea sucked, but if the boss wanted to do it, whatever. He said he wouldn't lose to me. I'd never experienced someone refusing to lose to me. I just laughed. I asked Tony if this was what he wanted. He said yes. He's the boss, so I said okay, but I'd need to be cleared first. They kept saying it could just be a squash, so I didn't need to be cleared. I scoffed at that. My health is more important. Dave Meltzer's a liar. Jericho is a liar and a stooge. There were plans, but plans always changed. But I'll never put a company above my health ever again. So basically what this is in reference to, and oops, I just switched there, boom. Basically what this is in reference to is the match they had on Dynamite, I want to say last year, where it only went, 3 minutes or so? Let me see. CM Punk, I could tell you exactly. Like, it was a quick match. And if you don't know what he means by the Rocky 3 story, it's when Clubber Lang comes in and just destroys Rocky really quick. Mr. T. When Mr. T just destroys him. The match itself went 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and Jon Moxley defeated CM Punk, to basically unify the titles. Moxley was the interim champion, as Punk was the actual world champion. The match itself took place on August 24th, 2022, on AEW Dynamite, and it went 3 minutes. And again, the comment of doing Rocky 3 was the fact of, it's going to be 3 minutes, Moxley's going to destroy me, or him, however you want to take it, and then we go from there. So yeah, that's the whole thing here. And the one takeaway that I took from this, which doesn't look good on Tony Khan, it's going to be a squash. You can work hurt. Ooh, really, Khan? Telling him he can work hurt? Telling him that he doesn't have to get cleared? Like 3 minutes. 1 minute you can get injured. You can get hurt in 1 minute being in the ring. Anything. Anytime. You can get hurt. As we learned from Sami Zayn, you can get hurt during your entrance. So, yeah, telling CM Punk, oh, yeah, you don't have to get cleared. It's going to be a squash anyways. Wow. I'm not taking sides here. I'm not shitting on Tony Khan or anything. But, man, even in the last 10 years, Vince wasn't telling people to work hurt. Some people did work hurt. Cody, for instance. But that's a completely different story. Yet, everyone's like, oh, Tony Khan, he's for the talent. He'll do anything for his talent to make sure that they're safe and this and that. And tell him, Punk, go out there and work hurt. That ain't watching out for the well-being of your talent. So, just saying. And then as I make that comment on Vince wouldn't make talent work hurt, you're going to say Cody, but that was a whole different story. Cody was hurt to the point where he couldn't get hurt any worse. And so they rolled with it. But, yeah, very interesting comments here. Jericho. So Punk then deletes the Instagram story. Jericho then takes to Instagram and posts a Matt Hardy delete gif. Punk then comes back and he's got like a picture of Danny Glover and it says, I'm too old for this shit. Meltzer also responded, which I'm going to pull that up here on the screen as well. Well, I'm not going to pull it up on the screen because I don't have. It's from the board, the AEW, or the Wrestling Observer forums, the board, whatever you want to call it. But Meltzer also commented on this as well. I had the link, I lost the link, but let's find it really quick. It's going to only take me 2 seconds. I think this is it. Yeah. So Dave Meltzer wrote, do you know why they didn't advertise Punk versus Moxley longer and why it had a short build? Because Punk agreed to it. Then AEW got a legal letter saying that he wasn't down with it and wasn't doing it, and they didn't know if he'd come until Tony put his foot down. There are a lot of nice things I can say about him, and you can constantly argue his position on Moxley was correct. But you can't argue He willingly did what he was asked in that scenario. So it's like a double-edged sword here, Dave. You're first crapping on him, and then you're saying, well, he did what he was asked. Like, first off, Dave's like, oh, well, the reason there wasn't more build was because Punk didn't want to do the match. And then he's like, but ultimately Punk did do the match because it was his job to do what his boss told him. So I don't know where Dave's trying to come at with this one. But yeah. Very interesting. And still, my takeaway is Tony telling him you can work hurt. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. You don't have to be cleared. You don't have to be cleared to do the match. It's all good. So, I'm not sure on that one. But as we move forward, I'm going to pull up a tweet here from Brian Last. Actually got some interesting info coming out of the, I guess you could say, official AEW employee handbook. Let's pull this up on the screen here. So, and now it's not wanting to, here it goes. Okay, cool. Brian Last tweeted out this, saying, was CM Punk told to take down his Instagram post? Here is section 19 of AEW's talent playbook. 19, interviews and public comments. It is critically important that private, sensitive, and confidential information regarding any and all AEW matters be kept confidential. To that point, it is essential that we address and resolve matters privately, in-house, rather than through the media or social media. None of those platforms offers opportunities for meaningful dialogue or resolutions. In keeping with the highest standards of professionalism and respect for AEW, our staff, and talent roster, the following acts will be subject to immediate discipline by AEW, including fines, suspensions, or termination of your engagement. 1. Criticism of AEW, which includes but is not limited to the following: comments regarding the quality of AEW's management team, other members of the roster or ownership, including our TV partners, our decisions made by ownership or management. Publicly accusing ownership, management, or any members of talent roster of acting with bias or in any way questioning the integrity. Posting negative or derogatory / demeaning comments pertaining to AEW, its owners, its partners, or its sponsors, currently DraftKings, Price.com, and State Farm, on social media. 2. Disclosure of confidential information. All conversations that are held, quote, back of house at AEW shows or scheduled events in person or virtually, including talent meetings, are confidential and are not to be discussed publicly. 3. Directly abusing, profane, or threatening language towards AEW. Talent and employees must maintain proper respect for AEW at all times. Offenses against AEW include verbal or other non-physical abuse. This applies to all AEW event locations, including at the arena or event venue, airports, and other transportation modes to and from an AEW event, and at hotels or other accommodations provided in connection with AEW. Public criticism of fellow team members. AEW policy prohibits public criticism of fellow team members. Such prohibited public statements may include, but are not limited to, accusations or criticism of fellow team members or the organization as a whole. Accusations or criticism of talent / style of wrestling of fellow team members. Accusations or suggestions that certain issues constantly occur in a particular match. I'm going to butcher this word. Incendious and indirect statements will also be considered prohibited. While understanding that social media can be used to help advance stories, first place check with those with whom you are working before posting. Feel free to run potential posts by Christopher Daniels, a coach or a member of legal / HR or PR team before posting. Number 5, unauthorized media engagement. Interviews. Do not conduct any interview, podcast, or engage with the media without alerting and engaging the PR team. MJF's done that one. You will be breaking policy if you move forward with an unapproved interview. Anonymous sources. Instances of anonymous AEW talent being cited by media as sources of information will not be tolerated and is subject to discipline upon a first offense. These policies and accountability measures will protect you, your colleagues, and AEW. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to talent department or legal/HR to discuss. So yeah, basically the whole can't talk bad about the company is in contracts and whatnot. So Punk put this up, and very quickly, I'm not 100% sure how quickly, but very quickly, it was kiboshed, pulled down, yoinked. So, makes it look like they told him to pull it. Makes it look like they said, no, Phil, can't do that. Can't talk bad about the company. Can't talk bad about Tony. Can't talk bad about Jericho. Meltzer, that's whatever. But you can't talk bad about somebody else in the company like this. So, yeah, that sounds like he was told to pull that shit. Sounds like he was told, yank it, yank it, yank it. But keeping with AEW news, so earlier this week at least, we talked to that on July 8th, All Elite Wrestling actually has a show that is listed as a televised event on July 8th, a Saturday, and I hope I say this right, Regina, Saskatchewan, up there in the great north of Canada. And there's no branding on it. It's not listed as an AEW Dark taping. It's not listed as a Dynamite. It's not listed as a Rampage. It's not listed as a Battle of the Belts, Dark Elevation, Ring of Honor. It's not listed as any of that. Just AEW Live televised event. Saturday, July 8th, bell time, 6 p.m. Central. Now it looks like this could be in connection with what Andrew Zarian reported earlier this month as far as a third AEW weekly show in the works, as we do have some news on that. Plus, we do have some stuff from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which we're going to read right here. A third AEW television series could potentially be making its debut this summer. Andrew Zarian of the Mat Man podcast reported earlier this month that AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery were finalizing a deal to add a third weekly in-ring AEW TV show to the schedule. The series would feature an hour-long episode, with Zarian hinting that it would be airing on Saturday nights. Hence why they had the live Saturday night tapings booked. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer provided an update on the potential series. Meltzer wrote that the show is planned and, unless something changes, will be premiering by, if not earlier than July, as Meltzer wrote the following. The 7/14 show in Regina, Saskatchewan, originally a Rampage taping, has been moved to 7/8, where it is billed as a television taping, but not a Rampage taping. Tony Khan didn't comment on the change, which, on the surface, could be the idea of a new Saturday show that has been rumored about. The schedule in June hasn't been announced yet, other than the Canadian shows, so we don't know if this is the first Saturday taping or the Saturday show will begin before this date. But the Saturday show is right now planned, and unless something major changes, it will be debuting at least by July, if not earlier. Things are being kept quiet. It's close enough to a done deal that the Regina news basically confirms it, and the fact that the change was made this week also confirms that the close to finalization would have just recently came up. If it's on TNT, there will be a lot of sports preemptions throughout the year. On TBS, there will be some as well. Still, more programming is a good sign, provided that there is a commensurate, I'm butchering this word, commensurate increase in rights fees for new stuff. Basically, what Meltzer is stating there, and I probably butchered the hell out of that word, commensurate, is you get a new show added, you get more money. But again, we do not know exactly what this show is going to be, if it's starting before or on July 8th, but a third Saturday night weekly show is planned right now, and it looks like they're going with the old Crockett adage of Saturdays, possibly 6:05. It says bell time 6 o'clock, so starting at 6:05 is whatever. But I'm interested. I probably wouldn't watch every week, because they've conditioned us that if it's not Dynamite, then we shouldn't care. Dark Elevation, what's that? Well, why do we watch that? Rampage, 99% of the time, nothing happens on Rampage. So it's like a third weekly show that's only an hour long. Is it going to be akin to a Rampage? Is it going to be akin to a Battle of the Belts? Is it going to be more like Dynamite where actual things happen? We don't know. I'm like, I'm interested until we get it. And then, well, if it's like every other thing, not Dynamite, then yeah, it's going to taper off very, very quickly. Because, I mean, Jungle Boy said it 2 weeks ago. MJF's never even worked a Rampage. So what does that say right there? If MJF is considered your top star, yeah, he doesn't have to work Rampage. That kind of buries Rampage in the point of, oh, well, Rampage doesn't matter enough to put MJF on it. If Rampage was as important as it was, MJF would have been on that show by now. Rampage has been around for what, over a year? And still no MJF ever appearing on that show? Again, if your top star or the guy you're billing as your top star is never booked on a show, whether that's Dark Elevation, or Rampage, why should we care about that show? You know what I mean? Why should we care about Rampage if you don't even care enough to put MJF on the show? Punk's been on it, what, once when they did the first dance? They've had Jericho on the show multiple times. Well, he does commentary for it, but that's a whole different thing. The Young Bucks have worked a few. The Omega's worked a few. Yeah, they did do a title change on there once with Kenny and Christian, but I mean, that's when they were first building up the show going, this is going to mean something, and then it was nothing. Honestly, Rampage is like WWE Superstars. They built it as a big show coming to WGN, and like the graphics had Undertaker on it and Batista and all these big names, and they never appeared outside of video packages and recaps. So, yeah. But speaking of extra AEW shows, last week AEW ran their first, well, technically second, the House Rules show. They built it as a tour, even though it was a one-night thing, and we have some info on how well that show actually did in Troy, Ohio. According to a new report, AEW's first house show netted nearly $100,000 in gross ticket revenue. AEW held its first house show live event, or House Rules live event, from the Hobart Arena in Troy, Ohio on March 18th. The show kicked off with a series of non-televised live show. Now, the show kicked off a series of non-televised live shows for All Elite Wrestling. Previously, the company only had held one of these back in April of 21. Now, WrestleNomics is reporting that they filed a public records request to the city of Troy, Ohio for information on AEW's House Rules live event on March 18th at the city-operated Hobart Arena. With this request, WrestleNomics gained information about the show. The gross ticket revenue was $99,675, with $2,929 in paid ticket sales at an average of $34 a ticket. The show had a total ticket scan count of 2,773. AEW made $17,944 off their cut of the merchandise sales, with the gross merchandise being $24,640. The report also notes that some of the general admission tickets were as low as $20, and this may have been impacted ticket revenue. Some of AEW's highest grossing pay-per-view events, including AEW Full Gear, have surpassed $1 million in ticket revenue. WrestleNomics also noted that they did not obtain information regarding expenses involved with the event, including the cost of renting the venue and paying the talent. So it's unclear whether the show was a profit for AEW or not, but we do have some sort of a baseline of how much money came in from the show. We just don't know how much money actually had to go out of the company for the show as well. But hey, I think that sounds pretty good. I think selling almost $100,000 in tickets for a live event, really good. Kudos. They got another one coming up in Toronto, I want to say. Give me 2 seconds to check that. And I just don't like the way they're calling it the House Rules Tour when you do like once a month. You do one a month, it's not a tour. WWE, when they do their tour, that's a tour. When you do freaking 3-4 days in a row. When you do SmackDown, House Show, Raw. Or it's SmackDown Talent, House Show, however you want to look at it. But when you're doing multiple shows in a row, multiple weeks in a row, that's a tour. To me, when you're doing one a month at that, I wouldn't consider that a tour per se. So they actually, they don't even have another one booked until July in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which means March, April, May, June, July. Then I'm another for 4 months. How you calling that a goddamn tour? How you calling that a goddamn tour? As we move forward, we're going to talk about some unfortunate Impact Wrestling news. As two top champions in Impact Wrestling, well, they're out right now. First off, word came out last night that Mickie James is dealing with some sort of an injury and unable to compete. As they stated, due to an injury, Mickie James will be unable to compete at Sacrifice. We will give an update and address the Knockout World title situation tomorrow night at Sacrifice. So, unfortunately, we will not be getting Mickie James on that show. Give me 1 second to check something really quick. Yeah, that show is taking place tonight. But also, unfortunately, the Impact World Champion was announced this morning as injured and no longer competing as well. He was supposed to be defending the title on April 16th at Rebellion. This news states, Impact Wrestling has announced that Josh Alexander, is relinquishing the world title due to suffering a tricep tear. Alexander will be undergoing surgery for the injury today. Alexander was scheduled to defend the Impact World Championship against Steve Maclin at Rebellion on Sunday, April 16th. The pay-per-view will now be headlined by Maclin versus Kushida to determine a new champion. Alexander was also scheduled to defend the Impact World Championship against Kushida at Impact Wrestling's NJPW's Multiverse United event on Thursday, March 30th. Alexander's replacement for that show has yet to be announced. So that's actually the second big change to Multiverse United because Will Ospreay's injury pulled him from that show. He's being replaced with Tanahashi. So this really sucks that the two top champions in Impact are injured and can't defend their belts. Can't go forward as the champions right now. So if we do hear anything further on these two, Josh Alexander and Mickie James, dealing with injuries, we will bring it to you as soon as we know. I know with the Mickie thing, they said they will give an update tonight at Sacrifice, so hopefully we get something there. And with Alexander, torn tricep, surgery, that's 8-9 months maybe 7. I think Christian came back in 7 from his recent torn tricep. So more power to him. Hopefully Josh Alexander is back sooner rather than later. And if we do get an update tonight on Mickie, we'll let you guys know. Switching over to mainly WWE news. We got more injuries to talk about. This one, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, well, I still think, and they haven't said it yet, but I think her working Mania is actually in jeopardy right now. Ronda Rousey has confirmed that she has a broken arm. Rousey says that she fractured her radius, one of the 2 bones in the forearm, at a WWE house show in Rockford, Illinois on February 26, 2023. She also commented on working right now with a injured ACL, as she had an ACL injury back in the day that never, I guess you could say, 100% healed. But Rousey did take to Instagram to write the following. How do you train with no ACL or cartilage in your right knee, as well as a fractured radius? Focus on what you can do. I have some of the most versatile training routines on earth. I need to do PT, build strength, retain flexibility, and train techniques across multiple disciplines, sometimes all in a single session. After over 2.5 decades of combat sports training, the smallest misstep could result in surgery. Thankfully, Mizunasa just sent me through new TS-01 trainers specifically designed for stability, while still ultra light, so not to aggravate what remains on my knee. Woohoo. Check out the link in the bio to get yours. Story time. 2 weeks after my ACL reconstruction, at 16 years old, my mom had me on the floor doing push-ups to teach me a lesson. You can sit around and feel sorry for yourself, or get your mopey ass and train with a vengeance. It's thanks to that ACL injury, I spent an entire year focusing solely on Nuaza, group techniques in judo, and became the best in the world in arm bars and transitions. Anyone who doubts is welcome to try me. Well, after thousands of dislocations, I thought not tapping out to arm bars and tearing ligaments was cool in my teens. My elbow finally fractured simply by slapping the mat in Rockford, Illinois, right before WrestleMania. The only thing saving these chicks now are the doctors not letting me compete. Well, ladies, they can't keep me away forever. I'm not moping. Vengeance is coming. Basically, what Ronda is saying is that she smacked the mat and messed up the bone in her forearm and is out. And the WWE doctors are telling her she can't wrestle right now because she is not cleared to compete. It's unclear exactly how long this is going to keep Ronda Rousey out of action and whether this hampers her working WrestleMania or not. We know that Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler were at one point scheduled to be one of the 4 teams in the Women's Tag Team Showcase. But if they're telling Ronda, no, you can't compete, no, you can't work, no, you're not getting cleared before Mania, you're going to have to get another team. You're going to have to find somebody else to work that match. So this is very unfortunate that Ronda Rousey is out injured. And as we've heard in the past, you can get injured doing just the randomest of things, you do all the time. Kevin Nash tore his quad walking back to the corner. Brian Alvarez said one time, I think it was, he blew out his knee taking a snake eyes. One of the simplest of moves you can take. But as far as injuries go in WWE, it sounds like one NXT superstar is also out with an injury, and that's Cora Jade. Cora Jade has not appeared on WWE television since being eliminated multiple times in the NXT Women's Battle Royal on January 10th, 2023. Her last match to date took place 10 days later at an NXT Live event in Fort Pierce, Florida, as she challenged Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship on Friday, January 20th. Since then, she has not wrestled. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that the NXT superstar is currently sidelined with an undisclosed injury that she suffered nearly 2 months ago. On social media, Cora Jade has been sharing photos of her days on the independent circuit as Elena Black. The only remark she made regarding her return occurred when she said she would return when she was ready. So with that, Cora Jade is also out with some sort of an injury. We don't know exactly what the injury is, but it does look like it could have, and we don't know for sure, could have taken place in that live event match against Roxanne Perez. Now, could have happened in that match. Could have happened the next week training at the PC. Who knows? But she's been out for 2 months with some sort of an injury. So if we do hear anything on her injury, we will keep you guys updated. Now, in keeping with WWE news, as far as the women's division does go, there's been a little scuttlebutt this morning on as far as Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, possibly maybe coming back to WWE as well. Some people aren't aggregating the story properly. So Dave Meltzer wrote the following in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. The ball is in her court when it comes to New Japan, WWE, and AEW, as I'm sure she could go to any of those 3 and make a lot of money in both U.S. companies. She probably could work out an AEW deal where she would be able to work Japan and Mexico if she wanted as well. From the WWE side, we're told there were points that she has asked for that from the WWE side. We were told there were points that she has asked for that she would have to give up. Okay, this is worded weird. Basically, what Meltzer is saying is she was asked by WWE to give up some of the demands she was asking for because the door's open. They just don't want to give her what she wants. Basically, he says, I'll read it verbatim. This is kind of written weird. We were told there were points that she has asked for that she would have to, okay, here we go, that she would have to give up asking to sign a deal with them, WWE, but that the door is open for her otherwise. Now, we don't know exactly what those asking points are. We do know that she wanted to get paid on the level of a Sasha, or on the level of a Charlotte Flair or a Becky Lynch, which is roughly right around the $1 million a year mark. So some are going, oh, she can go back to WWE because they've opened those negotiations again. That's not what this is. And I've seen 3 different websites, not going to call them out, aggregate this story falsely, leading to people on Twitter going, oh my God, Sasha could be coming back soon. Sasha could be coming. That's not what it is. Meltzer is saying that WWE would love to have her back, but they're not going to adhere to her demands, basically. For other talent, the short-term deal works very much in her favor as she keeps the buzz on her name, not knowing exactly where she's going to go. So, yeah. Could Sasha go back to WWE? Sure. Is she? Not anytime soon. Now, speaking of Naomi, who recently left WWE, we know that she's going to be working the upcoming WrestleCon events. She was billed as just Trinity, but we now may know what the name she's going to go by going forward might be. So, first off, on Instagram, she was asked, so when she reposted the advertisement for her doing WrestleCon, someone commented and goes, so are you still with WWE? And she responds with, no, friend, saying, no, I'm not. Well, a new trademark has been filed by Trinity Fatu for the name Trinity Star. Trinity Star with 2 R's. Starr. The news is the trademark is to be used for wrestling and merchandise purposes. So there we go. Naomi is basically out on social media now saying, no, I'm not with WWE anymore, regardless of WWE still having her listed on the roster page, which we can go double check on that one. But her now trademarking the name Trinity Star does lead one to believe she's done. Like, done. Could she come back? Of course. Is she coming back anytime soon? Don't get your hopes up. But if we look on WWE's website really quick, scroll down to the ends, see if she's still listed on the yep, she's still listed there as Naomi on the SmackDown brand. That's an interesting one, that she's still listed, but not there anymore, I guess you could say. But Naomi, or Trinity Star, will be working WrestleCon next weekend. She says she'll be there for both days. As we move forward, it looks like one WWE superstar had to reshoot something because they used the word wrestling on Raw. Well, in a pre-tape ahead of Raw. Previously banned terms that have been reinstated after Paul Triple H Levesque took over WWE Creative might be prohibited once again. A pre-tape segment for WWE Monday Night Raw had to be reshot after a performer used the word, quote, wrestling. Under Vince McMahon, the term had been banned for use on WWE programming in favor of sports entertainment or sports entertainer. It's not clear what pre-tape segment this was, as we do not know exactly what superstar said this. Meltzer did write the following. If you haven't seen the fingerprints of Vince McMahon on camera, and there are little things here and there was a pre-tape interview on the 320 Raw where somebody used the term wrestling, and they had to redo. Granted, since Reigns and Rhodes used the term pro wrestlers in their promos on the same show. So, yeah, quick little news note. Someone said wrestling. They didn't like it, and there we go. Everyone's going, oh my God, Vince is back because they can't say wrestling anymore. We don't know who this was, so maybe it just didn't fit the motif they were going for that character. I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting news note just to throw in. Another quick one. There's been a lot of talk over the last week on Randy Orton possibly returning over WrestleMania weekend, and we do have a little update on that from WrestleVotes and Give Me Sport. Let's pull this up really quickly. As Give Me Sport, or WrestleVote told Give Me Sport the following. Randy's name, I've started to hear a little bit over the last couple of weeks. He's getting close. He'd like to show up at WrestleMania. Missing WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, though, through injury. Okay, missing WrestleMania 32 in Dallas through injury killed him. So, I think if he's going to return, let's say the night after, he'd rather just show up in some form at the stadium. So again, a lot of talk on Randy Orton could be back sometime next week. Now, speaking of somebody coming back, there's been a lot of rumors on what's going on with Brock Lesnar after WrestleMania. Could he be staying? Could he be leaving? And Dave Meltzer wrote the following in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Regarding rumors of Lesnar, there were reports Lesnar had told people that he'd be leaving soon. And within the company, the word had circulated. The only thing we know is that everything about Lesnar and what he's doing is kept top secret, and that Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, and maybe 2 others know, and nobody else does. The last time Lesnar left for an extended period was when he put over McIntyre as big and as clean as he possibly could. So, if there was a finish similar to that, maybe that would be the MO. Basically, he's saying, hey, maybe Omos beats Brock and Brock takes an extended leave of absence. That's really what it seems like. Moving forward, we have a little bit of news on some scrapped WrestleMania plans. Dave Meltzer wrote the following in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, stating, quote, based on the original plans back in November, the entire Day 2 show has changed over, other than the main event, which was listed as either, quote, Roman Reigns versus The Rock or Cody Rhodes. Well, he states, but where am I? I just lost my spot here. He states that at one point there was a world title match also stated for night 1 that would have saw Seth Rollins defend against either McIntyre or Rhodes. That is, of course, no longer in the books. Again, there were rumors that they're going to split either the titles or create just a brand new world title for Raw, give it to Seth Rollins, and then Rollins defend it at WrestleMania. But that ultimately never happened. Now, speaking of WrestleMania, we do have a little bit of an update pertaining to some of the match orders and main event stuff and whatnot. As Dave Meltzer did write in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, quote, right now, Day 1 is scheduled to be headlined by Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins is also on that show, which they've blatantly gone out and stated. He continues by stating, there's also been talk of Edge versus Finn Balor in the Hell in a Cell match on that show, but that one isn't official. And one would think the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the tag titles would be on that show. The latter match has been listed for Day 1, dating back all the way to November. Day 2 will be headlined by Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the Universal title, which is the biggest match of the entire weekend. The belief is also that Gunther versus McIntyre versus Sheamus for the IC title. Lita and Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch versus Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Ray versus Dominic, if the angle is shot on Day 1. If not, the match could happen Day 1, not sure. And Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title are all on that show, Day 2. So what Meltzer is saying here with the Dominic Ray thing, a lot of people are under the belief that that's going to get announced last minute, whether that is the final SmackDown, Hall of Fame, or even night 1 of WrestleMania. If it happens on that final SmackDown or Hall of Fame, then the match most likely takes place on night 1 of WrestleMania. If they don't announce the match till Mania, like say they bring out all the Hall of Fame people on the stage at Mania and then they do the segment there, then of course night 2. So a couple little things there as far as what matches we can expect on what night. Finally, tonight is Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm going to put this image up on the screen. Whoosh, wrong one. Because we have a slight spoiler alert, possibly, for a gimmick match set for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. According to Worked Wrestling on Twitter, they do state that as of right now, Gunther versus Butch, yeah, you heard me right, is planned for tonight's SmackDown. One of the reasons for this match is to prep for the potential transition back to Pete Dunne in the near future. Like that right there. I read this earlier, but I'm still getting hyped up for it. The Pete Dunne name could be coming back. Please, 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 please. The match has not been announced yet. But Gunther versus Butch. Please give it to me. Please, 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 please. Have you not seen their matches in the past? Holy crap, are they great. And to potentially be going back to the Pete Dunne name, also amazing. I've gotten used to the Butch name, and it doesn't sway me one way or the other anymore. Couldn't care. But oh, Gunther versus Pete Dunne tonight, or Gunther versus Butch. Man, does that get my juices flowing. But with that, that's going to wrap up the wrap up. That's all we got for tonight's show, or today's show. As far as tonight does go, tonight is Friday Night SmackDown. Now, there is a very slight chance I don't do a review. I have a huge graphics job that literally needs to be done no later than Sunday. That, again, these damn people like to give me work and all the stuff I need last minute. I got like 2 days to work on this, today and Sunday, because tomorrow I got to teach a CCW class all day, so I'm not going to be available for that. But yeah, so I might have to get on a conference call tonight to get some graphics approved so then I can move forward and actually completing them and the details. It's a whole thing. So I may not be able to do a SmackDown review tonight. I will let you guys know if I don't do it. If you don't see any or hear anything from me, that means we are doing it, and we'll move on from there. But again, slight chance, good chance that I'm going to be on a conference call instead of reviewing SmackDown tonight. But as far as tonight's SmackDown itself does go, technically 3 things have been announced for the show. Dominic has stated that he will be on the show. He's going to now plead with his mom, his real mom Angie, not Mommy Rhea, to get a match with his dad at WrestleMania. Speaking of his dad, Rey Mysterio will be going one-on-one with LA Knight. And finally, Cody Rhodes will have his first match on SmackDown in, I want to say, 6 or 7 years, when he takes on Imperium's Ludwig Kaiser. So with that, these 3 things are the only 3 things that have been announced for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. So with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me here on the Wrestling Wrap-Up Friday edition, March 24th, 2023. Whether you're watching live, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, watching later on YouTube, or just listening to the audio podcast version on whatever platform that is, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, or so much more. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you next time right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Have a good one, guys.